Outlaw Sports is brought to you by Molson Canadian, made from Canada, and Rocky Mountain Barbecue, Alberta barbecue cuisine at its best. Ian Busby of the Calgary Sun joins us today to talk about the Calgary Stampeders' big win in Edmonton over the weekend. What did we say? Please do not overreact. It's one game. Even though it is the Labor Day game, this is not a team to write off. And they went in there, and I thought they played very well. The Hail Mary certainly didn't hurt.
That Hail Mary reminded me exactly of 2008 when Teo Johnson went up and got that Hail Mary in the Montreal game here in Calgary. It was just a turning point touchdown, sends them into the second half with a lot of momentum, and then it sent them into the second half in 08 with a lot of momentum. Maybe that does that this time too. That was a real fun play, and the funny thing is the whole Dave Dickinson and Huff arguing about whether they should try that play or not. Dave wants to do it. Huff doesn't really feel like, maybe we should just take a knee and go into the locker room with our lead. Well, that turned out to be a really crucial play of that game. A lot of fun, too. Nick Lewis sitting in the back, just waiting for the garbage to come to him, and great catch.
Well, you know, at first when we were watching it on TSN, they were going on, it's a design play, Forzani tipped it. Well, it didn't come close to Forzani. Two Eskimo guys went up for it, right to Nick Lewis. And it turned a 4-point game into an 11-point game.
Yeah, and if you look at the play again, Anthony Parker does a really good job of coming in and making sure that the Eskimo guys weren't going to tip it back or tip it down because he was going to scoop it up. So they had that. It was a design play, but the execution of it was great. Anthony Parker deserves a lot of credit for going in, making sure that they're going to tip it back where Nick Lewis was because he was standing right in front of them. A lot of fun. Love Hail Marys. How often do you see a Hail Mary get
good ones?
Yeah, good ones. Yeah. How often does it happen? Very rarely.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it could pad the quarterback stats in the wrong way, right? Could be an interception, or an incompletion, or a knockdown. But it was a lot of fun, and I'm glad to see they're trying some, aggressiveness.
And finally, nice to see them put in some running plays, whether it was design or lack of a design or not. It was good to see, and not only did I think Joffrey Reynolds have a terrific game, and I thought it was the difference. Cornish was outstanding, not only carrying the ball, but what he was doing on special teams and just his overall game. I thought that was one of his strongest.
His blocking and his catching was great. Yeah. The catch that he made in the first half, where he just takes a small one and finds his blockers and heads upfield for a 30-yard plus gain, and then does the same thing with a rushing attack later in the game. Plus his blocking was just amazing, and he had the key block on Hank's run where he cut the guy down, made sure that he was able to get out in space and get that into the end zone. John Cornish does so many things, and I think he's had one of those underrated seasons because he's not doing those 50-yard plays. Remember last year at this time he had 3 50-yard rushes. That really made people open their eyes. Yep. Well, outside of that, he's been the same player. He just hasn't had those big plays, and then he had a couple of big plays in this game.
But they need that balanced attack. We said that all along. When a defensive lineman knows you're just going to pass and pass and pass, they just pin their ears back and come right at you.
Yeah, and Joffrey can still get 10 yards when you need him to get 10 yards.
Sure.
And maybe he's not going to break 30, 40 yarders, but at this point in the time, he can really grind it down. And the end of the game was really, it was vintage Joffrey Reynolds, grinding out some extra yards, even when he's going in and taking 5 or 6 hits.
And this is the position, Ian, that if anything's going to deteriorate on a football team, it's going to be a running back.
Right.
And so to see this guy still at this stage and this kind of conditioning at this stage of his career is pretty phenomenal, I think.
Yeah, and that's why they have Cornish. Yeah. So it's a tandem. They can switch out and gives him a little bit of a difference there. Cornish has a lot of the same qualities, except for, Cornish has a little bit more of a burst downfield. The thing is, I can't wait for Joffrey Reynolds to get 10,000 yards. Now, it might take till next season, and hopefully he's still around to get that. 10,000 yards is an amazing achievement. You think of George Reed and Mike Pringle at 16,000 yards. Yeah. That's amazing too, but I hope they stick with him and give him the opportunity to play. Obviously, when he has 9 carries in 2 games, that's just not getting it done.
Injuries. between D-line and linebacking core. This is a concern, but they've got some help coming in. Update us on the injury bug and who's out and who's coming in.
Well, Robert McEwen's going to be out for a month, and now that's a tough one because Juwan Simpson is still coming back from that knee injury that he tried to come back. He played one game and then went to practice after that. It swelled up. He missed the last 2 games.
Sure.
They're going to need him to come back because Robert McEwen was one of those super subs. He could play defensive and linebacker, move around at all 6 positions in the front of this front 7, 6 of those 7 positions. And then they're going to bring in Brian Bulkey, Canadian defensive lineman. He's going to start in right at tackle. I think he's going to play right away, and I wouldn't be surprised if this kid is one of those guys we're talking about in the next few weeks as a real good get. They traded for him for a draft pick on draft day with the Edmonton Eskimos. You know how Edmonton-Calgary trades work out? In the CFL,
Yeah.
Pretty well for Calgary, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember the Zupas trade a couple years ago? I think they had another steal in this guy.
Well, they're just getting even from the 80s.
Yeah, maybe that's what the case
Yeah.
is. So he's going to be an impact player eventually. Now, whether he can do it right away, he's coming from the NFL. He played with the San Francisco 49ers this training camp. It was one of their late releases. Didn't want to stick around and wait for a PR spot. He wants to play. He's a Stanford grad. He doesn't really need to play football. He's a smart kid. But he just loves it, and he's right into it so far. And I think that's going to be a key move. You think of the last year when they had a key move, it was Corey Mace coming in. That turned out to be a pretty big move for them. I see the same thing happening. Now, if they can get Corey Mace back and Brian Bulkey for next year, man, they could have a nice little interior Canadians there.
Well, the Canadian talent's going to be phenomenal, especially when you look at what they've got in that receiving core too, right? So I think they've set themselves up for success in the Canadian department for years to come. Thanks a lot. We'll have you back later in the week, so don't misbehave.
Tired of going to redneck barbecues? Well, you better call Rocky Mountain Barbecue. Alberta barbecue cuisine at its best. Great tasting food, clean and efficient service. Check us out online or call Rocky Mountain Barbecue.